Fat fucking Lenny, huh? 330 pounds with veins coming out. Fat fucking Lenny, the fat fuck. This ain't nothing. This ain't nothing. Fucking, your brain's full of fucking fat. Bunch of fuckers. If I were to anally rape you, I'd get arrested for bestiality. I think it's on the books. And you know what? I'm not like everybody else. Got to get a certain kind of car. I had a car, big deal. Everybody else does. All the sheep. Again, you got a sheep talking.
Oh, here we go, because I have a car.
You little punk. No, I wouldn't be talking PST or whatever crap like that. A lot of things happen to me, you know? I'm not gonna dwell on it. PTSD. Made by the BBC, the British scumbag broadcasting network. So
We're gonna have Lenny do some bent over rows right here with, is that 315?
Yes. See somebody come in here and do it. You know? These stupid rules they wouldn't let me go in the call for because I had a discharge. You know, fuck. ISIS wouldn't exist if you had a private bunch of mercenaries go over there and take care of it. That's a fact, Mr. Troops, with your benefits. Fuck you, I don't want any benefits. Don't go after the things that make you pee. That doesn't mean shit. All that materialism means jack shit. Everybody looking for the easy way out with their pension jobs. Bunch of fuckers.
Okay, there we go. No idea why my microphone was muted.
Alright, wanna see the pump? And I'm dining too, by the way. Fat fucking Lenny, huh? 330 pounds with veins coming out. Follower, appearance. That was an inch shy of tearing. I will be getting to something new this year. Bigger and harder at the same time. On top of this, this ain't nothing. This ain't nothing. See a pump back? Which ain't nothing, by the way. How's that?
Viewing a disgusting carnivore meal. Made by who other than the carnivore deteriorator, Maria Emmerich.
What the hell? Oh my God!
My protein-sparing bread is a massive hit around the world.
Nobody is eating that around the world. Stop lying because that looks like canned dog food.
Gross!
There's been a few additions to the recipe throughout the years, but I still make the original. Start with a carton of 100% egg whites.
Okay, the egg carton is leaking and getting all over her counter.
You're a huge embarrassing failure.
I place that into an 8-quart stand mixer. If you don't have an 8-quart...
Wait, go back. Did you see how much salt Maria poured in there? Let me go in slow motion. That's so wild.
Holy
it's like
fuck.
half the bottle.
Poisoned or too salty.
Follow the recipe. Otherwise, it will spill over. Add some salt and then whip it until it looks like marshmallows. Add your dried egg whites.
I went searching for this exact brand of egg white powder and guess how much it costs.
She's fucking anorexic.
$66
shit.
for only 20 servings.
I can't afford that!
And gently mix. Otherwise, it will turn out like...
You PLS react to these two videos. If you, the already seen them, can we watch them again? Also, if roadkill is okay, what about necrophilia? You, ara. You, ara.
Yeah, the only argument I'd have against necrophilia is how it would make the family of the deceased feel, but if they don't have any family, then wouldn't really have an argument against it. Ugh, we've already seen this. I'm not gonna watch fucking 34 minutes of Joey going through a slaughterhouse. Or an hour. I've already seen this, though. Thanks for the donation, Riley, the one vegan.
styrofoam.
Yeah, who the hell would want to...
Jay Dyer won't debate me or ask yourself anymore. He's like a fucking crybaby retard, so.
Eat egg whites that could possibly have the consistency of styrofoam if you messed it up. Not me!
I get 2 loaves out of it, so I grease 2 bread pans and then form it into loaves. Place it into the oven at 350 degrees for about 45 minutes. Once it's completely cool, then you can slice it. Make sure to store it in the fridge. There's no preservatives. And look how soft it is.
The fuck is...
That is fucked. It's literally bread made out of pure egg white.
Okay, so this egg white loaf, or whatever it's supposed to be, looks like garbage. And why is it shaped like a starfish?
It's not right.
I love making a large pot of my sloppy joes.
I can't get over the shape of that. If you're trying to mimic bread, it should look like this. How did she manage to screw that up? This
Nipple Clamps donated $2. Thoughts on Mao Zedong?
What that prick's face when he saw the gun.
Mao Zedong's a bad person. Thanks for the donation, Nipple Clamps.
tells me she never made this recipe in her life. If Maria made this multiple times, her eggy bread would have been perfected looking like bread made from flour.
I strongly concur.
You can find both recipes for the bread and sloppy joes on KetoMaria.com. Scroll down and on the left you'll find a link to my blog, where I have a free ebook with meal plans for all of you.
That looks disgusting.
Nobody cares. What we can conclude from this video is that carnivore sloppy joes are disgusting because the bread is made from egg whites. Why are you making bread out of eggs? And why are these carnists making fun of vegans for making plants that mimic animal products, when they are doing the exact same thing, making eggs like wheat? What we also learned is how expensive their meals are. Who has money to pay $66 to make this crap? And that's not including the price it costs.
She should be in jail.
Let me take a look.
Bryn Spacer was convicted of involuntary manslaughter.
The violence captured national headlines and fueled true crime podcasts.
After she was finished stabbing Chad 108 times.
So extreme, it drove some to protest.
Justice for Chad! She's a murderer! She's been convicted! She needs to go to prison!
Now the woman behind the mugshot is ready to talk.
I mean, this is her choice. This is nobody making her do anything.
I'm just like sweating bullets right now.
It sucks.
So, she didn't go to jail because she's a woman, basically. How many men have taken drugs and experienced psychosis and killed somebody and they get put away for life, and then some chick, I did the marijuana and it made me go cuckoo and I didn't mean it. Oh, okay. No jail time. Holy fuck, dude.
Come on, this way. Good girl. Good girl.
Bryn Spacer is home where she grew up in northwest suburban Bloomingdale with 3 brothers and a lot of pets.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So this is the norm.
Bryn was diagnosed at an early age with hearing loss. She's worn hearing aids since she was 4, and she discovered a passion for helping others with the same disability.
I knew that was exactly what I wanted to do, is to work in the audiology field.
After earning her master's degree from Washington University in St. Louis, Bryn moved to Los Angeles to start her career as an audiologist, her hearing service dog, Aria, by her side. The two spent much of their free time at a dog park in Thousand Oaks in the spring of 2018.
Before work, after work, and I would be there for hours just to let her have fun and get to know people in the dog park area.
One of the people Bryn got to know was Chad O'Melia. A few weeks after they met, Chad was dead, Bryn charged with his murder.
I had no intention to hurt him. I never would hurt anybody.
It was Memorial Day weekend. After a visit to the dog park, Bryn and Chad went back to his apartment where he offered her marijuana in a bong. It was legal. Bryn was an inexperienced user. What happened next shattered 2 families when Bryn unexpectedly became violent.
It was the most horrific thing.
Dude, this is the most retarded excuse for murder I've ever fucking heard. I smoked marijuana and I went insane and killed somebody? Like, really? That fucking worked?
To watch, because there was no thought or emotions or motors, feelings, sensory feelings of any kind. There was nothing, and it was just like I was watching a TV screen of just all this.
I got to meet John Hark at my gym today. He's a pretty cool guy in person. He told me he's going for a 427 kilo pull in September.
That's pretty cool. Is that like almost 1,000 or right at 1,000? Let me see, 427. Yeah, 950 basically. That is pretty goddamn strong. Thanks for the donation, Matthew.
Awful things happening.
With what prosecutors say was 3 knives from the kitchen, she stabbed Chad. The serrated
Hi
edges of the...
VG. I hope that you are feeling great tonight. So, check out which retail giant won't back down during Pride Month this year.
Well, Walmart seems pretty based. You can say a lot of bad things about Walmart, but at least they're not backing down. Thanks for the donation, finger my ass.
The knives, leaving him with 108 wounds. Bryn even stabbed her dog, Aria, and herself.
Dissociation of reality. And you don't have no sense of time, you have no sense of judgment, morality, emotions. It's the scariest thing.
Ventura County Sheriff's deputies responded, their body cameras recording. That video evidence remains under seal, but both Bryn's defense team and the Ventura County prosecutor have watched it many times.
She carved up his face. The stabbing was horrific.
One of the deputies shoots her with a taser gun 4 times. So these electrical wires go into her body 4 times. She keeps stabbing herself.
Another deputy forced.
The electrical probes didn't make good contact. That's fucking normal. She should be in fucking prison. I don't believe the stupid story that she had some sort of drug-induced psychosis. Those cut marks on her neck were fucking bullshit. Like, if she was actually trying to fucking cut herself, she would have fucking done it. I think she was trying to cover up for a crime and make it seem as though she went insane.
To use his metal baton for the first time in his career. It took 9 blows to break Bryn's arm, finally freeing the knife.
VG, what about the fact animals can't consent to you eating the dead body, same as a human? What if the human doesn't consent to being eaten after they are dead? Is it immoral to disobey their orders? If so, then it would be wrong for an animal as well. VG.
Maybe, I guess. I don't really care, but sure. Thanks for the donation, Riley, the #1 vegan.
From her hands.
They saved my life, and I'm forever grateful for them.
Bryn, covered in blood, was rushed to the hospital where she underwent surgery and survived her 43 stab wounds. Her mom flew from Chicago to take care of her.
She was going, ask Chad what happened. I don't know what happened.
It was just a matter of trying to, just consciously waking up. It was a matter of trying to explain to the detectives what I was experiencing, but saying it in a way where I was like, but I know I didn't do it, but I saw this happening.
Bryn spent 6 days in jail. Prosecutors initially charged her with murder, but over the course of the years-long investigation, just months before her trial, they reduced the charge to involuntary manslaughter. The reason? Experts on both sides agreed. Her actions were the result of a cannabis-induced psychosis.
This is
Yeah, sure it was.
really rare, but it can happen. It's known to happen. There's been human experimental studies that have shown that if you give people high levels of THC directly to their bloodstream, you can elicit psychotic symptoms.
At Northwestern University's Feinberg School of Medicine, Dr. Sachin Patel studies how cannabis and its primary psychoactive compound, THC, affect the brain. He says those most at risk of experiencing cannabis-induced psychosis are people with mental illness or people who have a family member with a psychotic disorder. Is it possible for someone to become violent when they wouldn't normally be?
It's possible, depending on the degree of psychosis. So if people are perceiving things in the environment to be threatening, for example,
waiting for that. Have a total psychotic break from reality. Certainly not Chad, and certainly not Miss Spacer. In light of these facts, I do not believe that further incarceration of Miss Spacer is appropriate.
Get up there. Good.
Yeah, one single hit of marijuana. One single hit. And then it sends her into some violent rage where she fucking cuts somebody's face off. Like, I don't fucking buy that. This is called pretty girl privilege. If this was a dude who did that, he'd be fucking gone for the rest of his life.
Pretty much two.
Let's see. This guy's a psycho. What has he done with Luna? Is totally evil, unspeakable. Who's donating Spherage? He seems to be doing well from it if he can afford hair transplants, private detectives, and hitmen. Hopefully much larger YouTubers start covering and get closer to locking him up. Take a shot every time you hear him say natural. Dude, Spherage is unfucking hinged, dude. Like, I already knew he was crazy, but I was actually shocked at some of the footage I found doing research for this. And a little disturbing.
There's actually this guy called Nature Boy, who I put in epitome of malnourishment. He's actually on trial now for being a cult leader. He said that he had sex in front of his children, and he actually let his son grab his penis, and he talked about it as if it's natural, and it is actually natural. You would always have sex in front of your children because it's nothing special. Sex in nature is just nothing. It's like eating or shitting, as I said. They drilled it inside of your head. Everybody in your life, the media, your parents, and the school system told you that it's wrong. You have been re-educated, and that's why you cannot actually explain why it's wrong when you hear about something such as having sex around children, your children, whatever. Your family... It feels wrong, but does it actually? No.
In the so-called ancient times, in some places, it was normal for the mother to show the son how to have sex. This is why the sons quite often choose a girlfriend like the mother, and the daughters choose a boyfriend like the father.
And of course, we can produce children with our sisters and brothers. Monogamy. Yes, this is monogamy. Monogamy is you having sex with your family. Monogamy is not when you literally only have sex with your wife in marriage, which doesn't even exist. Marriage is in your head. No, in nature, you simply fuck with your family and there's no jealousy. Why would you be jealous of yourself? Your child, we can assume, is 50% the woman and 50% the man. You're creating a different version of yourself, and then you have sex with yourself, essentially, or at least 50% of yourself. But seeing as you merged with your wife, you could really say that it's having sex with yourself. And when the brothers and sisters have sex with each other, then it's also just different versions of you having sex with each other. Thinking about something like incest is very hard for a lot of people. And of course, when we hear about all of the stories of how the elite lives, we hear about incest all of the time. We hear about orgies, group sex, and the reason we do is because they have orgies, so-called ones, just like any wild animal would do it with their own family. And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I remember when I was...
Yeah, dude, Spherage is fucking unhinged. He was literally promoting, like, people having sex with their children.
Can we react to these ments? Andrew Colero interview with Marcela Robles, Lenny's former training partner who benched 650 raw. Lenny said the interview was great ments.
Let me see.
Marcella, I am not getting on.
Why not? Maybe he's going to do a live stream. He does one Friday night. Maybe he's preparing.
Okay. Yeah, maybe that's why. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, I didn't know that. I thought he told me to do it at this time because he had time to that. But I'm glad you're still practicing that.
Yeah.
Good that you are an actual Italian that know.
A lot of Catholic churches now.
Yeah, this is boring as fuck. Thanks for the donation, though, Mr. Krabs.
Us to buy the organic, free-range, grass-fed cow. Maria can afford these types of meals because she's one of these richy carnivore cult leaders who has all the money in the world to buy food that harms animals. She gets her wealth from her brainwashed followers. Just look at her kitchen. Marble countertops, stainless steel gas range stoves. She has it all. If you want a healthy, affordable meal, ditch going carnivore and eat a plant-based diet. The animals, your health, and your bank account will thank you.
Carnism is cancer.
Inside the Right. So, Tim, we've got big news here. Donald Trump convicted on all 34 felony counts. This is Inside the Right, so the obvious question here, do you think this will have some massive rally around the flag effect for Trump, or will the net effect of this conviction be negative for him?
Yeah, first I just want to say hell yeah and cheers. It's been a long time coming. We get some accountability for this guy. Been fighting this guy for a long time now. So what is the impact going to be? We will not know for sure until we get more data. But let's just be real here. Being a convicted felon, 34 counts, having to be sentenced 4 days before the Republican convention, this is not good for Donald Trump. This is a big problem for him. It's a problem for him across a couple of vectors. Number one, we've talked about this. The group that is that Joe Biden is struggling with the most right now are people that just aren't paying that close of attention. There are people that if you just...
I am going to start my activism career on YouTube. I have no idea what I am doing or editing videos ect. What apps are good? How you know what videos you can react to without getting copyrighted? Hope we come across each other on YouTube. I'ma roast some carnies.
Usually when you're just reacting to other YouTubers, you're not gonna have an issue with copyright if you use...
God damn it, I have to sit through a torturous fucking church service with my mother who doesn't give a shit about logic. How am I going to survive?
Maybe get high before you go in and do that. Thanks for the donation, Chest Pump. So you don't usually have copyright issues if you're just reacting to other YouTubers. If you use like news media clips, so if you take a long clip from CNN or BBC or something, it's usually those sort of networks where you'll get copyright claims from. And if you use any footage from like a TV show or movie, again, that's where you're most likely to get copyright claims from. As far as editing programs you can use, if you want one that's completely free, DaVinci Resolve is good. If you want something that you pay for, Adobe Premiere is good. It's not as good as it used to be because they fucked up the UI, but Adobe Premiere is good. And again, if you want something free, DaVinci Resolve. Other than that, just look up YouTube tutorials on how to make videos and shit like that. But good luck, dude. Thanks for the donation, Riley, the #1 vegan. Kenny, thanks for the 35-month sub. Appreciate it. 3 years next month. Dope.
Here's the OG based ad that Walmart put out for Pride Month. Happy Pride Month BTW. I'm not a part of the LGBTQIA+, but I'm an ally for them. Smile, fuck all the hateful bigots.
Queer people have magic that we can share.
We're lucky enough to be in the Walmart Pride collection this year. Total dream come true.
It's not every day that I see my products in a Walmart.
It's important to me to share my art.
No one can make the art that you make. No one can say the things the way you say them. There's a lot of opportunity to uplift with a bit of playfulness and imperfection.
The world needs to hear what you have to say and your story.
Based. Thanks for that donation, finger my ass.
That don't get their news from cable or from shows like this or from the newspaper. They're getting just social media inputs. And, you know, is it going to have an impact on those people to hear that Donald Trump has now been unanimously convicted of business fraud, of defrauding the country with lies about his affair? I just, you have to think that it will.
Are you feeling well rested? New Frank vids to watch.
I'm actually pretty goddamn tired. I spent all day making that spherage video. Frank Tefano. Let's see. No new vids and no new shorts. So, no, unfortunately, Frank has not put out any new content for us to laugh at. Thanks for the donation, though, James.
Impact some of them. Will impact all of them, you know? Are there some people out there that might come to Trump's defense? Sure, like, you know, this isn't a 100-0 thing. But on balance, I think that if you're just looking at the core groups of people, the people that have, you know, low engagement, this is going to break through. The first time a president's ever been convicted, if they don't, they might not know the day-to-day of everything that's going on in Gaza or everything that's going on in these trials. They might not know Judge Merchan's name, but they're going to know he was convicted. That's going to matter. And then the other group that we talk about a lot, these softer Republicans, the college-educated Republican types, the Nikki Haley types, you know, they are more engaged, so they're more familiar with the merits of the trial. But, you know, there's a certain percentage of them that they're conscientious. You know, it's like, you know, you've got a lot of, let's stereotype a little bit. You got a lot of people that like show up to their kids' school board meet. You know what I mean? We got a lot of class moms, you know, and a lot of dads who are coaching or moms who are
Sorry, bro. Like, just get out of here.
Well, it's like
you're a goober.
You shouldn't be allowed to keep a platform where the majority of your audience is going to be minors. It's like if you're a heavy alcoholic, you shouldn't be working at a brewery.
Coaching and dads who are class dads, right? Like that's the type of person that this Nikki. Do they want a felon to be the president? You know, you hear from them. We hear from them in focus groups. You never know what people are actually going to do until they do it. Like now happen. It's like, let's see, right? It's different to say.
Got themselves out on Twitter, on TV, basically to kiss the ring. Do you think that those people, you know, all of, and it was just about the entirety of the Republican Party, almost like this was the litmus test now, right? During the trial, it was how many of these people can dress like Donald Trump and show up behind him to do his bidding, you know, in an effort to circumvent the gag order on his behalf. Now it's how many of these Republican officials can go on Twitter, go on TV, and basically breathlessly defend the guy. So do you think that they're hanging themselves here by so quickly aligning themselves with a convicted felon ahead of an election where they're going to need moderates to win, and being a convicted felon isn't going to redound to their benefit?
Yeah, some of them are, and some of these swing states, and you see a lot of these Republican senators in the swing states are doing worse than Trump, really, because they're getting kind of the worst of both worlds. Some of the Trump voters don't trust him, and then the Democrats and independents look at him and they're like, "You seem crazy, like you're all the way with Trump," right. You know. So they're kind of in a sour spot. So I do think for certain people it'll hurt them. I do think, you know, just in the interest of fairness, like it is going to help Trump raise money, and that's just reality, right? So you know, Trump,
This guy seems a little drunk to me, like he's on something.
Huge money gap between Biden and Trump, so Trump will be able to narrow that. That's the one. I hate to even call it a silver lining, but that's the one, you know, positive that Trump will happen. You see these people on Twitter, these conservatives who are like, you know, now I'm going to crawl over glass for Trump. I saw that for 3 people. It's like, sorry, bud, you can crawl over glass if you want, but you still have one vote. One vote is one. Yeah. You know, like you can.
And by the way, anybody who's claiming that they were going to crawl over glass probably wasn't too on the.
Please play Fortnite with Turkey Tom.
I don't know if I'm going to do that because I hate Fortnite, so probably not going to do that. But thanks for the donation, Ali G.
the fence beforehand.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, someone holds their nose and votes for Joe Biden and you crawl over glass and use your bloody fingers to vote for Trump, it's still 1-1. You know, it doesn't really matter. You don't get points for bonus. But one example just to show you how how disastrous this is for Republicans, for the tiny group of Republicans who are responsible in trying to navigate this sorts of thing, and to show how much of a litmus test it is. I don't know if you saw this. Governor Larry Hogan, former governor of Maryland, now running for Senate. He's probably, you know, the most moderate of the you know, Republicans out there these days running for Senate. So he put out a responsible, normal statement. Regardless of the result, I urge all Americans to respect the verdict in the legal process, etc. Chris LaSavita, the campaign manager for Trump, tweets that, replies with, "You just ended your campaign." Not only are some of these Republicans, you know, trying to curry favor with him by sucking up to him today, but the Trump campaign is wielding this like a sword. They are making this a litmus test. You know, they're saying you are not welcome here. Remember the old what was the thing that Nikki Haley people put on shirts? You know, permanently barred.
Yeah,
that's what, like they're out there saying, if you just think we should just respect the justice system, then you're barred. You're not welcome here. I think that's really telling about the state of the party. And I think that's going to be damaging both for Trump and for Hogan, right? Like that's bad for both sides, right? Because the Hogan people are like, "Fuck you," you know what I mean? It's a two-way where they are, you know, they're alienating, you know, the people on each side of that dividing line within the party.
Totally agree. Now, surprisingly, there was, you know, a kind of aligned with Larry Hogan's, but even farther in the other direction, Mo Brooks, a Republican from Alabama, tweeted, @RealDonaldTrump, guilty of 34 felonies per jury of 12 random citizens, none sought job. GOP faces choice. USA future at stake. Keep Trump as nominee and gamble USA's future, or replace Trump with a good character nominee and beat the stew out of Biden. So, first of all, after what feels like a lifetime of people telling Biden to drop out every time he breathes the wrong way, it's kind of like, feels like we're in a parallel universe here to see someone actually call on Donald Trump to drop out. Even though the equivalency here is like Joe Biden misplaces a modifier and they call on him to drop out, and then Donald Trump, it takes 34 felony counts, convicted of 34 felony counts to actually get the first tweet here. But do you think that this kind of thing actually has legs?
Logs are real.
True. But I can see him not remember, like, what is this, like 10 years? Is this 10 years ago?
14.
15?
14.
I killed a man in 2012.
I wasn't...
statute of limitations, guys.
I feel that if he did deny the fact that those logs were fake, or I mean, if they were
real, everything would be...
A bitter war of Donkey Kong has exploded, with controversy over a high score making it all the way to a Queensland courtroom. An American video game champion is suing a Brisbane YouTuber over cheating claims.
Hello, you absolute legends. As many of you know, back in 2021, Con Artist of the Century Billy Mitchell sued me for defamation, claiming damages of almost $500,000. For almost 3 years, this ridiculous lawsuit has dragged on, and for the past year, I've been desperately trying to get a trial date as soon as possible. The sooner we can go to trial, the sooner this will all be over and we can all move on. But every step of the way, Billy has been doing everything in his power to delay trial as much as possible. You would think it would be the opposite way. Billy is the plaintiff. He's the one that's supposed to be desperate for the court to step in and give him a resolution. But no, he's the one always running away. In fact, he got so bad that even Australian news outlets were reporting on the fact that Billy was saying he couldn't attend trial when we were asking him to. However, thankfully, a trial date has recently been set by the judge. As it stands, Billy and I will be going to trial starting September 16, and the trial is scheduled for 6 days. This is only 4 months away, and personally, I cannot wait. This has already gone on far too long, and is a huge waste of everyone's time and money, but it does look like we will get a resolution pretty soon, which is great news. Now, when I announced this on Twitter, a lot of people had questions. Is it possible that me and Billy will settle before trial? Billy settled with Twin Galaxies earlier this year, and everyone hated that. Is it possible I might do the same? Everyone wants to see Billy lose, but is he going to just wriggle his way out once again? What will happen if...
Hey. I need your advice, please. I've just started on the gym. Do you recommend taking creatine if my goal is to lose fat and grow muscle? What would you recommend for a gym starter with my goals to do? Take. I'm vegan.
Yeah, there's no reason not to take creatine. It increases power output, and it allows you to have a greater power output throughout the duration of a workout, so it makes it easier to build muscle and strength. So yeah, it would be a good idea to take creatine. As far as other supplements go, I wouldn't recommend things like fat burners or anything like that. Like, they're really just stimulants. So just a good diet and training routine, good work ethic, and aside from just eating well, creatine's a good idea. There's not really much other advice I can give you unless you have some more specific questions. But yeah, creatine's really the only, exercise type supplement that you should really be taking. Test boosters don't fucking do anything. Fat burners, they're really just stimulants. I mean, Ozempic works, but you're probably not really a candidate for Ozempic. Thanks for the donation, though, Anon. Appreciate it.
If Billy loses, will there be any repercussions? What happens if he wins? In this video, I will answer these questions. Plus, we will take a quick look at a few of the things we will be arguing about in court. And some of the things Billy is trying to claim are insane. For example, and I swear to God this is real, Billy is trying to claim that he was never banned from Twin Galaxies for cheating. Yes, the guy who was banned from Twin Galaxies for cheating and sued Twin Galaxies for $10 million because they banned him for cheating is claiming in his lawsuit against me that he was never banned from Twin Galaxies for cheating. The lies never stop, and this is why trial is going to be so exciting. All of this will go before the judge, and it will be epic. Or, as I asked before, will Billy be able to weasel his way out? Let's find out. I really hope you enjoy. Now, legends, we are all huge Billy Mitchell fans here, and I know most of you are wondering, how on earth does Billy maintain such beautiful hair and skin? Well, I don't know Billy's secret for sure, so I can only assume it's because he's using today's video's sponsor, Geology. When Billy Mitchell settled with Twin Galaxies back in January, the entire world wept. What we all want more than anything is for Billy to have his ass handed to him in court. We want to see a real, bona fide loss. Honestly, at this point, Billy's lawsuit against me is the world's last chance to see this epic defeat happen. If Billy loses to me, it will be devastating for multiple reasons, which I will get into shortly. So this is really important that it does go to trial, and I do my very best to serve Billy the loss he so desperately deserves. But he has settled before, and not just with Twin Galaxies, with the YouTuber Apollo Legend as well, and both times the public was very upset. Is there any chance the same might happen with me? The answer is almost certainly no. There is a big difference between Billy's lawsuits in America and his lawsuit against me, which is in Australia. In America, even if you win as the defendant, there is no guarantee you'll get any of the court costs back. You might have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars defending yourself, and when you win, you get absolutely nothing. This is why in America, settling is a very tempting resolution, and this is why Twin Galaxies decided to settle. It was just a lot cheaper. In Australia, things are different. Here, almost always, the loser is ordered to pay the court costs of the winner. I'm pretty confident that I'm going to win, so from my perspective, it seems silly to settle because I believe I will be successful, and I believe that Billy will be ordered to pay back most of my costs. It's not 100% of my costs, however. The judge can award standard costs or indemnity costs. Standard cost is more common, and usually the winning party would get back around 60 to 70% of their costs. But in some circumstances, the judge can award indemnity costs, which would be up to 95% of costs incurred. If I do win, I think indemnity costs are more likely for reasons which I won't go over in this video. But in any case, the most important thing to realize is that this lawsuit, including trial, will have cost me around $500,000. This means if Billy loses, he will almost certainly be required tried to pay me hundreds of thousands of dollars to cover my expenses. This is obviously a big deal, and I would be stupid to accept any settlement that didn't also include the payment of all of my costs, given that I think the judge will award them to me at trial. So the chances of me and Billy settling before trial are extremely low, and I don't foresee any circumstance in which that happens. Billy can't just drop the lawsuit either. If he does try to run away before trial or simply avoids it, he will lose by default, and will still need to compensate me for my expenses. This lawsuit will go to trial, and the only way for Billy to avoid it is to simply lose before that even happens. If I were Billy, I would be shitting myself because if he loses, he will lose big, and right now, things aren't looking good. In saying that, nothing is certain in the legal system, and there is also a non-zero chance that somehow Billy wins. If that happens, I would need to pay back some of his costs, though it would almost certainly be on the standard costs basis. I don't know what Billy has spent so far, but based on the poor quality of work by his lawyers, it's probably less than half of what I've spent on mine. And while my loss seems unlikely, I would be an idiot if I didn't prepare for it. I've been privileged enough to have a lot of financial help from members of the public and people like.
So, it looks like there's going to be a booming Chinatown around my neck of the woods in Tennessee. The city is where there are a lot of ethnic minorities. I hope to see a vegan/vegetarian Asian restaurant there.
You probably won't, but, hope for the best, expect the worst. Let me see.
It's been something Sherry Ma has been wanting since moving to Nashville.
Let me turn on all the lights. We all come from China. Obviously, we miss the food and then services in China. So we just can't wait. We're super excited to have this opportunity in this Nashville area.
For the city to have its own Chinatown, and it's becoming a reality for this real estate agent.
We're just lucky to be the one who is able to get the site selected and then get the work started.
The new site is across the street from the Global Mall, which is currently being revitalized, and they're working with a budget of $27.5 million. Rita Zong is one of the investors, and she thinks it's the perfect location for the cultural experience.
It's a few minutes off highway, it's close to downtown and airport and Mount Juliet, Murfreesboro.
Yeah, I don't have high hopes for something like this. Malls are fucking stupid and nobody wants to drive to get to some stupid mall, so I don't know if this is gonna work out.
And the Brantford area.
Plans are already in motion to upgrade this existing building and make it a Pan-Asia supermarket. The next phases of the project will require building additional buildings to house Asian restaurants, retail services, and more, and that will require Metro Council approval.
This is already on the Planning Commission.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Thanks for the donation, though. Finger my ass.
Notch, who have donated a tremendous amount of money, but this only covers my own legal expenses. It doesn't cover any of the damages I would have to pay or any of the legal costs Billy has incurred. This might end up being hundreds of thousands of dollars on top of what I've already spent. Again, it's extremely unlikely, but I've done the best I could to earn enough money to survive the worst case scenario. And I'm happy to say that if the worst case scenario does eventuate, me and my family will survive. The lawsuit has taken an extreme mental toll on me, and it's affected this channel as well. I'm not free to just make the videos I want to make. Whenever I make a video, I have to consider the lawsuit, and if the video will be popular enough to cover my expenses. And the lawsuit takes up so much of my mental energy and attention, it's hard to think about anything else. That's one of the reasons I make so many Billy Mitchell videos. I spend so much time researching Billy for the sake of my own defense that it's hard to work on other projects. I do the best I can, but a lot of the time I just try to kill two birds with one stone and take what I've learned about Billy to make videos and use that to fund my legal expenses and prepare for the worst. Now, let's take a look at some of the things I will be arguing at trial. Obviously, I'm not going to cover everything here, and don't worry, I'm not going to spill any secrets or give away any strategies. Everything I mention here will be public information and already known to both parties. There are multiple ways to defend a defamation claim in Australia that go beyond just proving what you said was true or that it wasn't defamatory. One of them is to say that Billy didn't have a good reputation to begin with, so it's not possible that it caused him any damage. Before I published the video in question, it was already well established that Billy was a cheater. However, he had already been sued for fraud by Twin Galaxies, and I had already covered all of this in previous videos. Billy himself has already proven that his reputation was destroyed long before I ever talked about him, and he proved this by suing Twin Galaxies for $11 million in 2 states. He sued Apollo Legend for $1 million, and he sued Jeremy Young, Jeff Harris, and the Donkey Kong Forum for $3 million. In all of those lawsuits, he claims that his reputation was destroyed by their statements. He can't have his cake and eat it too. He can't say that Twin Galaxies destroyed his career in his lawsuit in America and then come over to Australia and say that his reputation was amazing and I destroyed it once again. That doesn't make any sense, but that's exactly what Billy is doing. If I can establish that Billy had a bad reputation to begin with, it doesn't matter if I can or can't prove any of my claims against him, because you can't damage what is already completely destroyed. But in saying that, there is a lot I can prove, and I will attempt to do so at trial. I will prove that Billy was publicly exposed for cheating and that he was banned by Twin Galaxies because of his cheating. Everyone will hear this claim and think there is no possible way Billy would try to deny this, because it's an obvious fact. Well, believe it or not, he is denying this. Billy is claiming that he was never publicly exposed for cheating and that he wasn't banned by Twin Galaxies. What's hilarious about this is that Billy argues in his own court documents from his American lawsuits that Twin Galaxies banned him for cheating and it caused him to get roasted publicly. I mean, it's literally the reason for his lawsuits against them. So he argues one thing in America and then argues the complete opposite in Australia. I don't know why he thinks this is a good idea, because I'm just going to use his own filings to show that he is a deceptive liar who's trying to play both sides. I'm also going to argue that he expressed joy at the thought of the YouTuber Apollo Legend's death. This is obviously a terrible thing, and not only did he imply he was going to smile and giggle if Apollo Legend died, but he also said that he hoped it was true. This was in 2018, which was 2 years before Apollo Legend actually died. At this time, Billy had only heard that he...
Finger my ass, Tony Tillers, this is Billy Mitchell.
God, that's amazing! You are so talented! Huh? Wait a second. Something's not right here. You were just making it look like you were playing. You're a phony! Hey, this guy's a great big phony! That's right, you're a big fat phony! Hey, you know who lives in this house? A great big phony! That's right, a phony lives here! A big fat phony! Wasn't gonna jump. You're a phony! Hey everybody! This guy's a great big phony!
Yeah, that's basically Billy. Thanks for the donation, Finger my ass.
He had died from his wife, and he was gleefully texting about it to his friends. Billy's defense to this is that Apollo Legend didn't die until 2020, so Billy only thought Apollo Legend had died, which makes his text okay. Yes, this really is Billy's defense. I'm also going to show that Billy abuses the legal system to try and silence people and force them to recognize his scores. For example, when he threatened Guinness World Records with a lawsuit if they didn't reinstate his scores, and they ended up folding. You may be asking why any of this is relevant, and it's because it all damages his reputation. It doesn't matter if he can show that I was incorrect on one thing. Even if he were to prove that I was wrong about a specific claim, there are many other claims that were true and also damaged his reputation. So as a whole, any incorrect claim I may have made didn't cause any extra damage. There are multiple barriers that Billy has to get through in order to be successful. He has to show that something that I said wasn't true and that it was defamatory. He then needs to prove that his reputation was damaged by that specific claim and has to prove those damages. From my side, I'm going to argue that what I said wasn't defamatory, that Billy's reputation was already terrible, and that I've said so many damaging things about him that were true and that I can prove that even if he did show that one thing I said was wrong, it didn't make a difference. And there are other very important things on top of this that I won't discuss until after trial happens. But I assure you that I will break it all down in more detail once it's over. One thing people have also asked is what happens if Billy loses and decides not to pay my costs? He is in America after all, and this would be an Australian judgment. Well, thankfully, the state of Florida where Billy lives does recognize foreign judgments, so we would be able to go after him through the Florida court system. It's a bit more work for us, but the important takeaway is that he won't be able to escape. And besides, if Billy did try to run and avoid paying, that's going to stick with him forever. First, his whole persona as a successful businessman would be destroyed, because we would all know he actually has no money. And secondly, I would never ever let the world forget what he did. The world needs Billy to lose. Not only would Billy need to pay me a lot of money if he loses, but we will also have an official ruling by a judge on a lot of these issues. This is because this particular trial will be decided by a judge and not a jury. So a judge is going to examine all of the evidence, and a judge will give his ruling and opinion on all of these issues. So if a judge rules that Billy was exposed for cheating, this opinion will be cemented in writing and will carry a lot of weight. If Billy loses this lawsuit, the judge's opinion is going to be very damaging for him, and that's another reason why I think it was very stupid for Billy to have started these proceedings. This is probably my last update on my own lawsuit until the trial. The next few months are obviously going to be very stressful for me and my family, so I'm probably going to work a bit less and will try to relax and distract myself as much as possible. I would love any and all support until then. You can support me by clicking on my videos when you see them, by leaving a comment, by not skipping my sponsors, and by sending some good energy over my way. I really appreciate. Hello?
Oh, dude, I hope Billy Mitchell gets fucked in court. That'll be great when it's finally over. Fucking hate that asshole.
Did you see the latest militant vegan video? Also, here are some vegan videos to watch. No need to watch them all now.
Is this her most recent video? I haven't seen that one yet. Somebody linked it to me. I'll probably react to it on this stream. Let me take a look.
So this guy made a video complaining about...
Yeah, I already saw that Frank video the other day. He left Islam because of this. All right.
If I go and order a coffee and I ask for...
they also use...
We can take a look at these. Thanks for the donation, Al-Karnas or Hamas.
All right, Glenn, the question I've gotten more than anything else so far in the immediate aftermath of Donald Trump's conviction here, can the Supreme Court eventually overturn this conviction that just happened in New York? So can you go over this? Like, can you go over the appeals process and where this case is going to live in terms of what court system?
You know, that's a big question, but I'm going to cut right to the chase. I don't want to bury the lead, Brian. The Supreme Court, unfortunately, can do whatever the Supreme Court damn well chooses to do. We have seen that, but that comes with a whole bunch of caveats. So let's go through them. This is a state case. This is not a federal case. Ordinarily, the federal courts play no role in state cases. States are their own sovereigns, right? They are completely separate from the federal government, free to run not only their government, but their judiciary, their criminal justice system as they see fit. So in the overwhelming majority of the state court prosecutions in all 50 states, those cases go up through the state court system. They will have typically 2 lines of appeal, an intermediate appeal court, and then a supreme state court. And that's the end of it. When a supreme state court says, no, we are not reversing this conviction, that is typically when it's over. And in, I would say, 99.5% of the cases, that's the way it plays out. This is a New York State court prosecution and conviction. So it will take some time to work its way through the state court system of appeals. However, there are instances where a state court case can literally jump into the federal court system. How does that happen? Let's use a concrete example. Remember that litigation in Colorado when Donald Trump was disqualified from being on the presidential ballot in Colorado? Why? Because they went through a trial in state court in Colorado, and the state court judge found that Donald Trump engaged in insurrection on January 6th. Donald Trump is and will forever remain an adjudicated insurrectionist. That case went up through the Colorado State Appeals Court system, and the Colorado Supreme Court affirmed that ruling, that he's an adjudicated insurrectionist. You would have thought case was over and done, right? Well, not so fast, because Donald Trump then succeeded in jumping into the federal court system, and he convinced the Supreme Court to take that case for review. So here is the point that people need to keep in mind. A state court case, once it has run its course through the appeals court in the state of conviction, that defendant can ask the Supreme Court, please, 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 take my case. And the Supreme Court almost never does. But if there is some issue of exceptional constitutional importance, and I mean federal constitution, not just the state constitutions, because each state has its own state constitution, and it doesn't necessarily track exactly with our federal constitution. If they can convince the Supreme Court that there is this extremely burning question that they should take up because there might have been some kind of a violation of one of the rights guaranteed in the federal constitution by virtue of the way the state courts handled Donald Trump's case, the Supreme Court, let's go back to where we started, can do whatever it damn well pleases. I don't believe there's any legitimate reason, legal, constitutional, factual, or otherwise, for the United States Supreme Court to accept this case for review. But with Alito and Thomas and Roberts and Gorsuch, who knows what they will do.
And can they take up this case just because they find issue with, for example, and we don't know the answer to this yet, but with the sentencing? So if they see that Donald Trump has been sentenced to a prison term, for example, could they then take this up solely to try and prohibit Donald Trump from being incarcerated?
I'm always going to start with they can do whatever they damn well please, because they've proven themselves not to be honest brokers of the law or the Constitution, period. And I take no joy in saying that as somebody who has fought all his life to make sure we remain loyal to the Constitution. But I think to answer your question, it's a great one. With respect to
30 minutes and I'm already dealing with non-vegans in my comment section, dumb fuckheads.
Hello everyone, this is your message of the day, to just go vegan and stop abusing animals. It's not that hard, so just go vegan. Peace.
Don't pay for animals to be abused. Abuse, though, isn't an argument. Try again. Okay, are you okay with humans being abused? Abuse, though, isn't an argument. Yeah, it is. I don't know what the hell he means by that, but thanks for the donation, Riley.
Sentencing, I don't think the Supreme Court could possibly come up with a federal constitutional reason to accept the case for review because they might subjectively disagree with the sentence Judge Merchan imposed. Really, the only time, in my opinion, the Supreme Court could take it up to review a sentencing determination would be if the sentence was illegal. In other words, if somehow Judge Merchan overstepped his judicial authority and punished Donald Trump more than or in ways other than the law allows, that could actually violate a number of federal constitutional provisions. But listen, we all know Judge Merchan is an experienced, thoughtful jurist. He's going to impose the sentence not only that he believes is right and just for Donald Trump, but one that is well within the laws of the state of New York.
But just to be clear now, whatever tortured rationale the Supreme Court might put forward ultimately does have to be accepted because there's no higher authority to rebuke them. Is that right?
You know, the answer is yes. There is no higher authority. Unless Donald Trump becomes president and is true to his word, becomes a dictator on day one, then he will be in a position, and again, this sounds like the stuff of Hollywood fiction, he would be in a position to disregard any ruling that came from the Supreme Court, and then we are in constitutional crisis territory, which has a very specific definition. We talk about being in a constitutional crisis all the time when Donald Trump abuses his power and authority. That's not a constitutional crisis. But if two branches of government collide and there is no tiebreaker in the law or under the Constitution, like the Supreme Court, which is the last stop under our constitutional construct, if a rogue president refuses to abide by a Supreme Court ruling or precedent, we are now in constitutional crisis territory because there's no one to break the tie. And then, unfortunately, he with the most military power will win.
I want to switch gears a little bit here. Donald Trump's attorneys and basically the rest of his mouthpieces seem, at least in the media, at least publicly, pretty confident about their chances on appeal. Do you buy that, or is this just desperate wish casting from the Trump folks?
Yeah, no, I don't want to turn this into a comedy bit, but you know what I think of when I hear Donald Trump's lawyers saying they have a good shot on appeal? I think to the movie Animal House, one of my favorites growing up, and what the dean said to the John Belushi character, Mr. Blutarsky. Mr. Blutarsky, your grade point average is 0.0. That is precisely Donald Trump's odds of winning on appeal.
Okay. Glenn, how long would the appeals process take? And I guess more importantly, would it have any impact on him serving out his sentence? So, for example, if he's sentenced to prison, which we'll find out on July 11th, would that prison sentence be put on hold if he appeals?
That is up to the discretion of Judge Merchan. That is a big ticket question. And I happen to believe, and I think we've talked about this yesterday and undoubtedly we'll talk about it again, I happen to believe that the prosecutors will request a period of incarceration based on these 34 felony convictions of Donald Trump, and I believe Judge Merchan will impose a period of incarceration, but that doesn't answer the question entirely because Judge Merchan will then have the opportunity to suspend that sentence. In other words, not force that sentence to begin running, put it on hold, put it on pause, while Donald Trump files an appeal. That ordinarily doesn't happen, but of course we did see a Trump-appointed judge in D.C., Judge Carl Nichols, do precisely that for Steve Bannon, which was entirely undeserved. So Judge Merchan could do that. But let's assume he doesn't, Brian. Let's assume he imposes a period of incarceration and he refuses to suspend it or pause it or stay it. Then Donald Trump will run to the New York appeals court and say, oh, please, please, please overrule the judge's determination and please pause or suspend my sentence so I don't have to report to begin serving a period of incarceration. And then it will be up to the New York appeals courts whether to do that or not. It's an entirely open question, and frankly, I am loath to even hazard a guess as to which way those decisions will be made.
Okay, well, we will obviously stay on top of all of this as this process plays itself out. So for those watching right now, if you want to...
And just one more month left.
My name is Brian.
To wait for Trump to go to prison.
A case where if they can do this to me, they can do this to anyone. These are bad people. These are, in many cases, I believe, sick people. As far as the trial itself, it was very unfair. We weren't allowed to use our election expert under any circumstances. You saw what happened to some of the witnesses that were on our side. They were literally crucified by this man who looks like an angel, but he's really a devil. He looks so nice and soft. People say, oh, he seems like such a nice man. No, unless you saw him in action. Crimes.
What the fuck?
They're falsifying business records. That sounds so bad. To me, it sounds very bad. You know, it's only a misdemeanor, but to me, it sounds so bad. When they say falsifying business, that's a bad thing for me.
What does he mean misdemeanor? It's a felony.
I've never had that before. I'm falsifying. You know what falsifying business records is? In the first degree. They say falsifying business records. Sounds so good, right?
That was Donald Trump continuing his perpetual meltdown in the aftermath of his conviction on all 34 criminal counts.
He needs to learn to shut his fucking mouth.
Here, Trump says that the witnesses were, quote, literally crucified by who I presume is the judge in this case. This, probably goes without saying, but none of Donald Trump's witnesses were literally crucified. Granted, I didn't watch every second of the coverage, but I'm pretty sure that if a Trump witness was nailed to a cross at any point during the trial, I probably would have heard about it. Although I will say one thing, it is nice for Trump to bestow the Jesus imagery onto someone else for a change amid his constant references to himself being the new messiah for conservatives in this country. Trump then went on to wallow in the usual victimhood, claiming we weren't allowed to use our election expert under any circumstances. Now, you'll be shocked to hear this, but that is an outright lie. In reality, Judge Merchan said that former Federal Election Commission Chair Bradley Smith could testify by providing background information about the FEC, but that he wasn't allowed to opine on whether Trump broke federal election laws. And what Trump took out of that is that his prize witness was muzzled and prohibited from taking the stand. To claim that Donald Trump lied.
Did you like my sunglasses? I have no fucking idea what they are on about. I honestly would rather just kill the entirety of humanity, to be honest. They are so fucking disingenuous, just to win the argument. I can't be arsed being liking them now.
Yeah, you had some pretty good sunglasses. You got some good shades. And I mean, yeah, most people are retarded scumbags, so it's not like I'd be sad to see most people go. Thanks for the donation, Riley.
Lies every time he opens his mouth would be the understatement of the century. Trump then tries his hand at another tactic by trying to downplay the severity of his crime. After all, he just falsified business.
Lick my pooper donators, how many brain cells are in this video?
Israel's dropped another bomb in Rafah, killing 45. At least 43 are civilians. CNN has gruesome video of people being burned to death. Children who's so badly...
When did he upload this? Okay, a few days ago.
Burned, their eyes are closed and they're blinded by the burns. The parents screaming about their dead babies.
Yeah, Jank, maybe do some research on what actually happened before talking about the poor children.
Grown-ups and children being pulled out of the fire while still alive. And even Netanyahu has called it a tragic mistake. Why? Because they got caught. It's on tape. But what do you think happens every time we drop a bomb? People burned to death, children's grandmother, etc. All my life.
Yeah, so most bombs aren't like fire bombs.
America, Israel, and all of our allies have been calling Muslims violent and dropping hundreds of thousands of bombs on them. It is grotesque racism. No, the bombs are the violence. The bombs are the terrorism. If terrorists did it by hand, we would say they were the sickest people alive. But instead, 35,000 dead, and it's just...
I love how he mentions 35,000 dead. You realize, like, about half of them are Hamas members? You idiot?
Just the same when you do it with bombs.
Well, Jank is a fucking retard. Like, bro, he loses every debate he has on this issue spectacularly, and he still blabs like this.
Records. See, if you simply say things like they're no problem, they magically become no problem.
Nah, I didn't get any donuts today, but I do have a nice big juicy melon that I'm gonna snack on.
Who cares? Murder, no sweat. Terrorism, no problem. See how easy that is? All part of Trump's magic.
Hey VG, speaking of creatine, is there a best time to be taking creatine? I'm currently taking it first thing in the morning. Should I be drinking extra before or after a workout? Thanks VG.
No, taking it in the morning's fine. It doesn't really matter when you take it. You build up creatine stores over time, so if you're taking it every day, it doesn't really matter what time of day you're taking it. You'll build up the stores over time. The only time you might want to consider taking an additional dose of creatine after a workout is if you're having 2 long, intense training sessions per day. So let's say you're training upper body in the morning and then lower body at night, and you're doing like a lot of big heavy compounds, so bench, overhead press in the morning, and then at night you're doing some more big heavy compounds like squats, deadlifts, shit like that. That's a situation where you might want to take an extra dose of creatine.
I am having existential OCD. That is bad. Any advice? Also look up pans/pandas. It may be a cause for a lot of mental illness today.
Look up pandas. I don't think pandas are a cause for mental illness. If anything, They probably help prevent mental illness.
What do you think about this Meothod? I try to inspire, because I honestly do hate being mean to people, until they turn into fuckheads. Then I'll net it and roast and shame them. That way I can make people interested, and while still be firm in the morals.
Well, yeah, I'm always cordial with people until they, you know, act like dishonest dickheads. Then I'll go hard. But as long as people are being polite and honest with me, I go easy on them. But thanks for the donation, Riley. Does pandas stand for something? Pandas mental health. Short for pediatric autoimmune neuropsychiatric disorders associated with streptococcal infections. Child may be diagnosed with pandas when obsessive compulsive disorder, tic disorder, or both suddenly appear following a streptococcal strep infection. Yeah, I have no idea, dude. No idea. I used to have really fucking bad OCD. And it happened when I was really young. I don't recall ever having strep throat, though. Or a streptococcal infection. But I think we can both agree that pandas are wonderful. Get these sons of bitches. Let's just chill out and watch some panda videos. Pandas are pretty fantastic. Let's see what Turkey Tom's up to.
At the time, I don't see why. Not that we should treat him as if he has done this other times, but considering that the tendency is to have done it other times, like the average offender will do it other times, then there is a reason to be suspicious, at least.
I think we're getting a little lost in the weeds here. I think, you know, it's an interesting point, but I guess the thing I'm more concerned about is more just like, so in this context of this situation, I think in some of the DMs, you know, lolly stuff, you want to make the argument that you don't really care. It's like, okay, well, I can't really argue with that because you're probably not going to, you know, I don't think you're going to change your position or whatever. The bigger thing to me is just that he specifically refers to the 15-year-old as a lolly. Right, like he refers to somebody who like conceivably looks like a young girl as a lolly.
Yeah, and not just like not just a play on her name, but how she physically looks. He knows what she looks like.
It's like drawing a comparison to her real life appearance, you know.
Yeah, man, that's definitely strange. I agree with you.
Okay.
Strange, or is it like beyond
weird. Like
40%? Like.
No, I think 40 is about right. Considering all the stuff that she said later about her own intentions, yeah. I think 40 is about right. But I mean, here's the thing. He's still obviously guilty of something.
He didn't say anything about wanting to manipulate him. Like, that's what he said in his response. But she just said that she had a misconstrued and fucked up view on sexuality and how she thought that when she turned 16, no guy would ever want to fuck her. She had a very, very fucked up view about
That's not exactly what she said.
That is actually exactly what she said, actually. That is actually exactly what she said. The only thing that you can look at is
就说你看到熊猫小姐的时候，就看到你的自己的孩子，你自己的小孩儿，
Wow，
就给你一种爱不释手的那种回忆，让你走不动路的。我们总结来看，第一个就是发起。 你知道熊猫，我们把这个不让它有对人类有依赖，这是我们的第一要务。所以这个时候我就想到，我们的伪装。声音呢，不同的环。
That's some good munching. Oh yeah, that's some good munching. Look at him eat that carrot. Wow. That's
Pandas
good.
have a reputation for being relatively slow-moving animals. They spend a significant amount of time eating and resting, leading to their relaxed and sleepy demeanor. Their calm and leisurely lifestyle contributes to the perception of laziness. Pandas have a distinctive and adorable appearance that contributes to their cuteness. With their round faces, large eyes, and chubby bodies covered in black and white fur, pandas have a teddy bear-like quality that appeals to many people. Their playful antics,
Oh my
such
God,
as
dude.
rolling, climbing, and somersaulting, also add to their charm. Pandas engage in behaviors that humans often find endearing.
What the fuck?
They can be playful, especially when they are young, and their clumsiness while climbing trees or rolling down hills can be entertaining to watch. These behaviors, coupled with their gentle nature, make
Bro,
pandas
how do they
even more
not
lovable.
break every fucking
Pandas are
bone in their
considered a
body?
symbol of conservation effort.
Holy shit.
Pandas are the world's dumbest creatures. Pandas will do absolutely anything not to survive. They're like children who need to be supervised 24/7 so they don't endanger their own lives. Pandas are bad at everything. They can't mate, and to make matters worse, females can only get pregnant for 2 days a year. As you imagine, to have a birth, the stars have to align perfectly. Pandas are also bad at staying alive. As you can see from the videos, pandas are risk takers, or at least they don't always understand the consequences of their actions. For example, climbing to the top of a tree on an unstable branch, or doing dangerous sports exercises. Baby pandas have only a 40% chance of being alive to see their next birthday. Pandas don't even do what they were created to do. In fact, they were designed as carnivores. Yes, pandas are bears, but they don't eat meat. They prefer to eat bamboo, but bamboo gives them very little energy, so they have to spend all day chewing it.
Yeah, they're good boys. Wow. Dude, that has to be the most fun job ever.
Would you eat this sass? They're vegan.
Let me see. Yeah, I'd eat that ass. It's a vegan ass. I'd eat that ass too. I would also eat that ass. I would eat that butt. And I don't know if I'd eat that butt. It's a little too crazy for me. But those are some good butts. Thanks for that donation, Al Carnis or Hamas. Wow. Yeah, pandas are pretty goddamn dope.
Logical plan to downplay the severity of his own criminal behavior. If you just say it like it's no biggie, then it becomes no biggie. And then, well, things got kind of weird.
So you're going to call it. Now, I would have testified. I wanted to testify. The theory is you never testify, because as soon as you testify, anybody, if it were George Washington, don't testify, because they'll get you on something that you said slightly wrong, and then they sue you for perjury. But I didn't care about that. I wanted to. But the judge allowed them to go into everything that I was ever involved in, not this case, everything that I was ever involved in, which is a first. In other words, you could go into every single thing that...
Okay, so that's bullshit. He chose not to testify because they'd absolutely destroy him on cross-examination. It's pretty typical for somebody in a criminal trial not to choose not to testify, because it's a massive liability.
That I ever did. Was he a bad boy here? Was he a bad boy there? And my lawyer said, what do you need to go through? And all you wanted to do is testify simply on this case. Because I would have loved to have testified. To this day, I would have liked to have testified. But you would have said something out of whack, like it was a beautiful sunny day and it was actually raining out.
That's right. The issue is that too many people were trying to figure out if Trump was, and I quote, a bad boy here and a bad boy there. I don't really have anything to say about that other than that it's just a little bit uncomfortable to hear a 77-year-old man call himself a bad boy. And then, of course, he claims that, of course, he wanted to testify and that he totally, definitely would have testified, but that he was afraid that he'd have gotten taken down by a teensy-weensy mistake, like saying the weather was wrong. Of course, in reality, his attorneys were less concerned about him misrepresenting the weather than they were about their client perjuring himself over and over and over. And I don't like to speak in absolutes here, but I can 1000% guarantee you that if Trump would have taken the stand to testify in his own defense, he would have lied and perjured himself so quickly that he'd have managed to get himself charged with yet another felony charge faster than he can say rigged trial. This dude is physically incapable of not lying, which is legally fine in the court of public opinion, but a court of law is an entirely different story. In fact, I spoke with my Legal Breakdown co-host Glenn Kirshner about the likelihood of Trump taking the stand back when the trial was still ongoing, and here's what he had to say. And do you believe that this will have any impact on Trump's willingness to actually take the stand? Or do you think he's already made that decision up anyway?
I don't think Donald Trump can take the stand for a New York minute without lying, committing perjury. And, you know, his lies are so transparent when he tells them. I don't think there's any chance he was going to take the stand even before getting this Sandoval notice, which is devastating. If the jurors are presented with 13 instances of serious misconduct by Donald Trump, do you really think they're going to give him the benefit of the doubt when it comes time to judge his guilt of the 34 falsifying business records crimes for which he's been indicted in this case?
Glenn, is there any reason that Donald Trump might opt to actually take the stand and testify here, or does he actually stand to benefit more from just sitting down and shutting up the entire time?
Yeah, you know, Brian, he has the right to remain silent. I don't think Donald Trump has the ability to remain silent, but I think his attorneys will recommend to him in the strongest possible terms that it's not going to inure to your advantage if you take the stand in this case. Now, listen, Donald Trump may be so full of himself that he thinks he can win over the jurors. And remember, he only has to win over one juror. If he wins over one juror with his bluff and his bluster and his bull on the stand, well, then that could result in a hung jury and a mistrial. The good news is if the jury hangs, in other words, if they can't decide the case unanimously, either for guilt or not guilty, acquittal, then the prosecutors can retry it. And let me tell you, I did a lot of retrials in my years. Ordinarily, prosecutors fine-tune their presentation of the evidence, and the retrial goes a little bit better and often will result in a conviction even after the first case hung.
So I get that now that he's lost, Trump wants to play Monday morning quarterback and pretend like he was silenced and that his witnesses were censored and that this whole thing was one big travesty of justice. But we all have eyes, we all have ears, we weren't born yesterday, we know the tricks that Donald Trump's attorneys tried to pull during this case, we know why Trump himself couldn't testify on his own behalf, and that's because none of the facts were on his side. Notice how he's so quick to run to the cameras and weigh in on quite literally anything and everything when he has no legal exposure for doing so, but the moment he's in the courtroom and has an obligation, a legal obligation, to tell the truth, suddenly it's crickets from someone who otherwise does not know how to shut the fuck up. So Trump will continue to have his little temper tantrums, but remember, and I've said this before and I'll say it every day if I have to, Donald Trump was convicted because he, Donald Trump, a grown-ass man, made the conscious decision to falsify business records, which he knew was a crime, by the way, and therefore why he made Michael Cohen do his dirty work for him, because he wanted to hide an affair he had from the American people before the election. Which part of that was Joe Biden or the Democrats' fault? Was it Biden's fault that Trump cheated on his wife? Was it Biden's fault that Trump paid her off? Was it Biden's fault that he As upsetting as it was predictable, NBC News is now reporting that Trump supporters are trying to dox jurors and calling for them, the judges, and the prosecutors to be killed in the aftermath of Trump's guilty verdict in his New York criminal trial.
Of course they are.
VG, what's your opinion on wearing leather shoes that I bought as a non-vegans? Personally, I don't believe in post-mortem rights, and I just don't see a point in getting rid of non-vegan products I bought as a meat eater. Am I commodifying the animal? Ty.
Yeah, so, you're not committing a rights violation if you had already bought the shoes, so you continuing to wear them, it doesn't cause any more rights violations. With that said, again, if you're going to be vegan, and especially if you want to be a vegan activist, it's probably not a good idea to wear leather shoes or any products of animal origin. You want to be an example for people that you can live a vegan lifestyle and all this crap, so I would just throw them out and get another pair of shoes if I were you. I also don't like the idea of wearing dead, tortured animals on my body. But it's up to you ultimately. Thanks for the donation, Riley.
Democracy, which is a nonprofit that conducts public interest research, there has been a high volume of social media posts containing violent rhetoric targeting Judge Merchan and Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, including a post with Bragg's purported home address. The group also found posts of the purported addresses of jurors on a fringe internet message board known for pro-Trump content and harassing and violent posts, although it's unclear if any actual jurors had been correctly identified. And unsurprisingly, the posts appear on many of the same websites that were used by Trump supporters to organize the violence ahead of the January 6th attack. One post on a website that was known as The Donald read, "Dox the jurors, dox them all," with another post reading, "We need to identify each juror and make them miserable." And I'll stop there, but the posts do become more and more unhinged as you keep on reading, which you can do at the NBC News link in the post description of this video. Moving over to Truth Social, a user wrote, "I hope every juror is doxxed and they pay for what they have done."
Yeah, of course. Trump supporters try to dox jurors, violent threats. We need to identify each juror, then make them miserable, maybe even suicidal. Hope every juror is doxxed, may God strike them dead. Now you understand, to save our nation, you must fight. The time to respond is now. Franco Friday has begun, another Proud Boys chapter wrote, apparently referring to fascist dictator Francisco Franco of Spain. Yeah. Well, that's Trump supporters for you.
Done. May God.
Remember when there was all this talk of only like lefties and Democrats cause violence? Whatever happened to that?
God strike them dead. We will on November 5th, and they will pay. On Telegram, in a chapter of the Proud Boys, one post read simply, "War," which of course is identical to a post published on Twitter by Tim Pool, where he too wrote, "War." I asked my Democracy Watch co-host Mark Elias for his response to posts exactly like this one, and here's what he had to say. Do you worry about Trump inciting violence against the jurors or the court staff, or just inciting violence in general now that we're in this period where, tensions are high and he's obviously very, exhibiting very hostile behavior against these people?
Yeah, I think you put your finger on it in the last question. The jurors are anonymous, and if Donald Trump doesn't want to spend years, and I mean years, in a state prison, he will not incite violence against the jurors.
Is it okay if I sell the shoes to a meat eater then? I'm not creating a demand and the money is going into my pocket as a vegan. Sorry, new to veganism and am still figuring out where exactly I stand. You're probably right about getting rid of them. THXS a lot.
Yeah, selling them would be fine, and if you use that towards like vegan activism or something, that'd be great. I think it's better to just throw them in the trash. Again, you don't want anybody using products of animal origin. You don't want to normalize people wearing leather or wool or fur. So I think it's just better to throw those sorts of things out in the trash. Thanks for the donation, though, Riley.
Like, if he does that, all bets are off. We're talking about a whole other category of offenses, whole other category of crimes that would carry very, very serious. I mean, the judges do not allow violence or threats or intimidation towards jurors. So that I think is one thing. What I do worry about, though, Brian, And I think we all need to worry about, and I hope that, politicians across the aisle or across the spectrum, although I hold out very little hope for Republicans, will tamp down the incendiary language we are hearing right now from Donald Trump and too many Republicans that could create violence more broadly. Not necessarily aimed at this judge or this jury, but they have created the conditions here for Donald Trump supporters to view this as an extrajudicial process, which is ridiculous because it was literally in a court. But they are portraying this as somehow outside of the normal process and inciting Donald Trump supporters. And so this is a time when responsible political parties, when responsible politicians should be tamping that down and saying things like, we may not agree with it. I don't agree with it, but it's the judicial process and we respect it. We respect the role of the jury in our system. We respect the role of judges in our system. So everyone needs to, whether they agree with it or not, sort of be in that mindset. But of course, Brian, that's not what we're hearing. In fact, the one Republican who issued that position last night,
Larry Hogan,
was told that by the Trump campaign that his campaign ended. So I think that Donald Trump and his campaign are inciting, not quieting that kind of vitriol.
Okay, well, to that point then, does Donald Trump have any legal obligation to quell these calls for violence from his mouthpieces in the media, for example? We had somebody like
What
Tim
are you top 5 manga/anime?
Hey guys, it's Natasha Aughey here. I'm going to do something a little different, not training because I'm...
As far as manga, Berserk, Gantz, Akira, Dorohedoro, Fist of the North Star, Chainsaw Man. Those are all really, really excellent manga. Anime, you've got Death Note. Let's see. Psychopaths. Jobless Reincarnation. Ghost in the Shell. Akira again. What else? Princess Mononoke. Nazca, the Valley of the Wind. Wicked City. There's a lot I can mention. But thanks for the donation, Silent Hill fan.
Pretty sure most of my videos are all training, but this one is going to be my top
Parasite
5 animes.
is great.
No particular order, because I don't know if I have like a specific order. But I'm going to go with My Hero Academia, just because obviously, heroes, villains, that whole thing. I've also read the manga and read up to the latest chapter, and it's just amazing and great, and the story is just awesome. So
My Hero Academia was fantastic the first 2 seasons. Then in season 3, it just became insanely boring. Ridiculously, unbearably fucking boring.
Definitely My Hero Academia. I'm gonna have to go with okay, I'm gonna say Demon Slayer, because same thing. I read the
Demon Slayer is for retarded cucks who have no sense of taste. It's literally Berserk, but for babies. That's literally what it is.
manga on that one, and the whole story is just fantastic. And the
fucking
animation
garbage.
is also just beautiful. So
The animation sucks ass.
definitely have to go with Demon Slayer. I'm gonna go with Solo Leveling. I know Solo Leveling just came out for the anime, but same thing. I've read the light novel and I think it's manhwa. And same thing, storyline's amazing. So have to go with that one. I'm gonna have to go with also Black Clover. Black Clover is another really good one.
I haven't seen either of those.
And then last one, I'm gonna go do a feel-good slice of life one. I'm gonna say Fruits Basket, because it's just a really cute, hits you right in the feels one. And those would be my top 5 anime. Also, I'm always looking for recommendations, so if you guys have any good anime recommendations, let me know in the comments below.
Booga
This is
booga.
Democracy Watch.
Thanks for the donation, Silent Hill fan.
Just go on Twitter and post the word war.
Yeah. I don't think he has...
Yeah, I've got a Steam Deck. Steam Deck's pretty dope.
A legal obligation to quiet it or to quell it. Again, it may go into this judge's sentencing calculation, though. Because remember, one of the purposes of the criminal justice system is to punish, but another is to rehabilitate, right? Those are both competing purposes of sentencing. And so when people show contrition, one of the reasons why they get lower sentences is the person has moved towards sort of a position of repentance and a position of rehabilitation. When they show defiance, then the idea is they need not only punishment, but they actually also need a sentence that will further rehabilitation. Well, his conduct now, whether he is inciting or tamping down, it may very well be part of that atmospheric. But of course, we've seen him do worse. And this is what my message is to the media. We have seen him do worse and be ignored. We wound up with a violent insurrection at the nation's capital because the media largely turned a blind eye, and a lot of public society turned a blind eye and said, oh, he's just venting. Oh, that's just Donald Trump being Donald Trump. And eventually he wound up inciting a riot at the nation's capital, for which he got indicted. So is he under an obligation to tamp down? No. But is he under an obligation not to incite violence? Yeah, he's under a legal obligation to do that, and the media needs to hold him to that obligation.
But will the fact that Trump has at least a more...
I noticed all the vegan assay you liked were white. Here's a black one. If you don't want to eat this vegan ass, you're colorist and ass racist. Also, what's worse, Demon Slayer or Breaking Bad?
What's worse? I would say Demon Slayer. It's hard for anything to be worse than Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer is just god-awful, dude. Let's see. I would say this is a pretty damn good ass. If it's a vegan ass, I definitely eat it. Yeah, she's cute. Thanks for the donation, Carnisar Hamas.
Watch. All right, so Mark, Donald Trump and his mouthpieces, in the immediate aftermath of his conviction, have already begun to ramp up attacks against the judge, the trial, the prosecutors. Given the fact that it's this very judge who's going to ultimately decide Donald Trump's sentence, is Trump shooting himself in the foot right now by going scorched earth against the one person who will be responsible for his fate?
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, as you say, the only person who will decide whether Donald Trump is wearing an ankle bracelet, picking up trash on the side of the Cross Bronx Expressway, or sitting in a prison cell in upstate New York. The only person who decides that is the judge. And so if there's one person you don't want to piss off, it's that guy. And if there's one time you don't want to piss him off, it's after you've been convicted, but before you've been sentenced. But look, Donald Trump wouldn't be who he is. He wouldn't be in the pickle he's in if he wasn't stupid about the legal system. You know, he may have other skills as an authoritarian, but when it comes to being a participant in litigation, his track record is actually not that good.
Is this the kind of thing that would impact a judge's decision in terms of sentencing? Like taking Donald Trump out of it, if a convicted defendant opts to rail against the judge prior to his sentencing, is that the kind of thing that could impact what that sentence would be?
Look, the judge is going to say that attacks on him are fair game. And he's going to say it's not going to affect his sentencing, that he doesn't care what he says about him. But the judge will also probably say, may very well say, that attacks on the judicial system do go into sentencing. That showing contemptuous behavior towards the court does go into sentencing, that violating gag orders does go into sentencing, and that saying that the jury verdict, which is viewed as sort of above reproach, right? Everyone is to respect the jury and the sanctity of that process, that does go into sentencing. So I do think he's shooting himself in the foot here.
Now, do you worry about Trump inciting violence against the jurors or the court staff, or just inciting violence in general now that we're in this period where, tensions are high and he's obviously very, exhibiting very hostile behavior against these people?
Yeah, I think you put your finger on it in the last question. The jurors are anonymous, and if Donald Trump doesn't want to spend years, and I mean years, in a state prison.
You're watching The Legal Breakdown. All right, Glenn, so we're in the immediate aftermath of Donald Trump having been found guilty on all 34 counts. I want to do a little thought experiment here because there are a lot of potential issues that could arise. Obviously, Donald Trump is running to be the next president of the United States. A major question that I've gotten from our viewers is what happens in the event that Donald Trump...
Donatiller's thoughts on this. Is Billie Eilish a cultural appropriator? She dresses like Black Americans in the early 2000s. Seems racist.
I could eat that girl for lunch. Yeah, she dances on my tongue. Tastes like she might be the one. And I could never get enough.
No, that is not cultural appropriation.
If I sold all my Leetcl products, I would probably make over $500. I just don't feel comfortable throwing that money in the trash. I am also reinforcing commodification, so I'm fucked. I need a new phone, but I feel like I'm betraying the animals.
Who cares, dude? Just sell the shoes and, you know, whatever. It's not a big deal. Thanks for the donation, Riley. Yeah, so that's not cultural appropriation by definition. She does have big tits, too, so who cares? Just, titties. She's got good tits, and that's all that matters, really. That is all that matters. Tits. Thanks for the donation, Ho.
Wins the election and yet is sentenced to some period of incarceration in this...
Ah, goddamn. Ugh. I was working on that Sverige video for, like... I started right around 12 or 1, and I finished at like 6, so it was like 5-6 hours. My back is kind of sore. I gotta do a bit of a stretch. Ugh. Ugh. Oh. Yeah.
New York trial. What could...
Let's put on some stretching music.
Father of lies, come in disguise. Your cum won't last. There's a snake in my ass. The cum father's secret stash. Come stomp me flat. I'm going to fuck your dad. Coming high into the morning sky. Vape come from my bum till I die. Watching Arthur with a cock in my ass. Riding hard, eating ass master class. Sacred cum blade, fuckling crusade. Fatal cum theft, give me cum or give me death. Elon's Musk, Jesus crust. Stealing donations from the cum czar's trust. A cum smoothie, gulp smoothly. Consume the cum chalice, fuck everyone named Alex. David Hayter, cum crusader. The holy cum wars, razor blade masturbator. Margaret Thatcher, the cum snatcher. Father
Free Palestine cuckolds, Night Tellers, classic commies. Let me see.
1, 2, 3. Okay. Please, can we respect staff? You're good. Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
I don't know what that is. Free Palestine.
They're bringing about 3 dozen riot cops here. That's not going to be pretty. The reason our entire movement has gotten so much attention is because our tactics are wacky.
So, I started to get back on my minus 40% aggressive calorie deficit since I'm still obese according to the BMI, and so far so good. I only have 40 to 50 pounds left to lose. Is it fair to call someone delusional if they claim to be healthy while they're obese with high BF?
I mean, health is just a state of being. Like, you could be a cigarette smoker, do crystal meth, and all this. Like, if your blood work is good, if your blood pressure is good, if you have no indications that you have any health problems, I mean, you're technically healthy. You'd probably be healthier if you were at a healthy body weight, if you didn't smoke crack, you know, all that, but... Like, yeah, you can technically be healthy and be overweight. It's just that the likelihood of that is lower. But good luck on the deficit, dude. Appreciate it.
And unpredictable. Tactics being, okay, 20 people getting arrested by a bunch of cops, that's just not going to hit any news. That's going to kill the movement. However, if we leave now and come back first thing in the morning, then a bunch of riot cops get here, there's nobody here, President Tom Jackson will have his ass thrown under the bus for wasting all this goddamn money. So will the CSU system, there will be a bunch more fuel for the fire to take them down into...
Puke donated $2. Have you debated Pine Creek?
It becomes absurd after a while. Like, if you... Well... For example, would you be consistent and view a lion killing a gazelle as a bad moral thing?
I would, and I would compare it to a human being who's not able to reason, like the insanity defense, not guilty by insanity, who blacks out and murders somebody, and isn't conscious, not conscious, but isn't reasoning.
So you're just saying lions are insane?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
See, like, there's going to be people listening to this conversation now or in the replay.
Never debated Pine Creek, but he sounds stupid.
Consciousness,
yeah, and
capacity to feel pain.
And then the non-vegan would say that I don't care. And then you would say, why not? And they say, because I like the taste of meat. And they're not humans. And then you would say, but they have capacity to feel, and maybe their mama will miss them or whatever. And nobody's minds will be changed.
Yeah, the guy just seems like a retarded boomer. Thanks for that donation, Puke.
In terms of taking their funds for killing Palestine down, and more people in Palestine will see it. But that's only if we leave now and come back first thing in the goddamn...
Debunk first 2 links. Last is a ha-ha piece my negus.
Let me take a look.
Again, all over again, here's 3 things that I would do completely different. Number 1 is I wouldn't eat exclusively 100% whole food plant-based. It's way too restrictive. It's way...
Sorry if I annoyed you, just confused.
You didn't annoy me, it's fine. Thanks for that donation, Riley.
Way too much cooking, and I'd rather eat in a way that supports my lifestyle, like evolved eating, which is the new system that I've created since then. Number 2,
that, by definition, wouldn't be vegan.
I would eat more protein from the jump. I believed that we only needed about 35 to 50 grams of protein when I first started looking into the research, but then I realized that that was the bare minimum just from not getting sick, and I want way more for myself than just not getting sick. And then number 3, I would use oil more frequently. I wouldn't go nuts with it, but oil makes food taste...
Okay.
You're not supposed to drink water. You are supposed to drink water. It's better if you require your water from your fruits than from a live spring. That's what I'm saying. So
it is not better if you get water from the food you eat.
The only reason why we drink the liquids is for electrolytes. That's it. And for minerals. And that's the reason why spring water will do.
No, you drink water because you need water.
Because spring water goes against a rock bed and it takes the actual minerals from that rock bed and it puts it in the water. Then you drink the actual water and you get those minerals or those mineral oxides from the actual rock. You don't have to do the same thing when you go to a fruit. The minerals already is accumulated from the soil because they go through mycorrhizas type of things and moves through the tree trunk. The sun hits on it, it go through photosynthesis, and it changes the structure of the water while it's in the fruit. So when you
no.
eat a fruit, you get your amino acids, you get your fructose, you get your glucose, you get everything you need when you eat the fruits. You get your minerals, you get your electrolytes. When you're drinking bulk water, you don't get all those essential things. And this.
All right, well, that guy's nuts. That "please save us" sounded real.
We tired of going out. We cook, we clean, we shut the fuck up. Every time, please. Please save us.
Myobi's Carnist anti-vax father claims to be healthy despite having no evidence since he doesn't go to get physicals done. BC Big Pharma. I'm going to start calling him delusional once I get to a healthy body weight since he can't hurl any insults at me, lol.
Alright, well, I wouldn't be too concerned with what your stupid, dumbass dad thinks. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, and he believes what he believes because he's an idiot, and nothing you do is going to change that, so don't get too worked up about it. Thanks for the donation figure, my ass.
Out of this working shit. I'm out of this shit. Save.
Aren't we all? Alright, I don't know why I watched that. I am going to finish stretching now. Ugh. Dude, I am super fucking stiff. Ugh. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah.